Good morning. Uh, sorry for both most. Good morning, everyone in Asia, and good evening, everyone in the rest of the world. um, I guess we'll call this Sunday Night Live because it's funny, like Saturday Night Live, right? It's just as funny, right? No, it's very serious. But Sunday Night Live, maybe that's good because it's that's what it is. In most of the world, most of the people that are involved do that. So anyway, we're gonna get started early today, and actually, I just anybody who's on TikTok knows that I've been kicked off of TikTok, and I'm not allowed on there for another 9 minutes. August 14th. That's today at 7:12 a.m. and it is now 7:03 a.m. So anyway, however, anybody who's just to let you know that right now streaming on Twitter, streaming on Instagram, Rumble, website is live, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So it's not just Twitter. So, but I don't know if any of you are Twitterites, so I don't know. Anyway, so thank you for coming. I'm not sure if you all know what's going on in the world, but it seems pretty unsettling to say the least. And I mean, Lahaina is gone. I'm sure people may have heard about this small town of Lahaina in Maui. Beautiful little town is gone up in smoke. Maui's on fire. Maui doesn't catch fire. Maui doesn't catch fire. Anyway, so a lot of weird things happening, and I wanted to first of all apologize to everyone for not being so available right now for my consults, and I know they're urgent. I just had an urgent one. Somebody on Instagram, your situation that you just explained to me on Instagram, what they're doing is obviously doesn't work. You've already told me it doesn't work. It's not working. Okay, this apparently this woman has a certain type of fermenting cell in her lung area, and they've used chemo, they've used everything they can, and it doesn't work. So therefore, it doesn't work. So wherever you are, until even if when we talk, I'm going to recommend we've got to find a place for you to get to. So we've got to get her into a condition where she cannot be in the hospital. So get her wherever she is, get her discharged from the hospital, and get her back to being healthy, because you're not getting any value out of there. You already know that. You've explained to me you're not getting any value. So let's not pretend. There's no sense to pretend or to be afraid not to be afraid to leave, because if they're not helping, if you know they're hurting, then there's no reason on staying. Okay, so get out of there, and then when I finally can talk with you, or contact me sooner, we've got to find a place for her to go, whether it's to my clinic in Arizona, Oasis, or someplace closer to you. It doesn't. That's not my. I don't think about that. I just think about getting her the help as quickly as possible. And sadly, she's not going to get it from the allopaths. She's not going to get it from allopathic medicine. Is that going to knock me off one of these stations? I got to get. I got to just stay on Rumble. I don't know why I'm on anything else. I'm going to get off. I got to get off of everything else. Yeah, so Instagram, Rumble, website. So if you go to my website, it's live. LinkedIn, it's live. YouTube, it's live. And that's all Dr. Thomas Lodi. Okay, so, all right. Very cool. Very cool. So, Um, very good, you guys. I'm gonna jump around here because there's questions from all over. What I want to apologize about is that I'm right now. I'm so busy that I can't get to all the to consultations right now. I just can't. I just don't. I just literally cannot. I literally cannot. My ability to take care of myself is gone. I don't have time for myself. I don't even do anything for myself. So that's how busy I am. So I'm trying to work that out, and it's only because I've committed to doing these live lectures in the United States and Bangkok, which I will never do again. I'm not going to do live lectures. I mean, I'm going to do a few in Arizona when I'm there. So if any of you are interested in coming to Arizona, I'll let you know. There'll be a few while I'm there in the month of September. And of course, we have questions and answers afterwards. However, other than that, and then I have my 2 obligations, but that's it. I'm done because I can't work on that and take care of all you guys, which is really my priority at this point. And I'm opening a center here. I'm opening 2 centers here. They're going to be fantastic, really fantastic, the best we've had. So I, you know, but we're talking about February probably for the first one. So it's still a little while. In the meantime, we've got to do what we all have to do, and that is live a life that results in health. Okay, there's no other way of doing it. Okay, so okay. Now, who I want to apologize to a person, a man who may not be watching. Name is Wayne, and I sent him an email, and he may just be the tip of the iceberg, but he just said to me that I didn't respond. Why didn't you respond to my uh, dead wife's questions when she submitted them? I didn't know. I don't. I get every week. I get over 100 questions, and I only get to 5 or 6 or 10, 20. Sometimes I'm really lucky, but I just never get to them all. So if anyone has any suggestions for a better system, maybe what I should do is take all the questions I have like this week, take no new ones next week, and until I'm finished, I'll use this week and next week's to finish these, and then we take new sets of questions. I don't know. I got to figure that out. Someone's got to help me figure that out. What would be the worst? Because that ruined my night and day. It says she admired you and believed in you, and she says he said, I think you're too busy to give patients good advice. So that's really a bummer. More than a bummer. So there's no way to not do that. But I don't. I had met with her. I did give her a recommendation. I guess she had some other questions after that. I know I spoke to her after that a couple times too. So I try to keep up with everybody all the time, and I can't. I can't. It's worldwide. How can I? And I got email. It's just too much. So I do the best I can, and I apologize. Uh, anyway, I wanted to say that and let you know that I need a new format, I guess. But I take my focus off doing live lectures. Do any of you know? Let's see. We can't do this now. Do any of you know? Any good good medical doctors? Anybody know any good holistic, or not even holistic, but people that are doctors that are done with allopathic medicine and want to get trained and learn and have a new career and actually really help people? If you do, please have them get in touch with me, okay? Because that's what I'm working on. Okay, I think I can do this now. Are they going to let me? Come on, you guys. It's now 7:13, so it should be okay. Excuse me a minute. Okay. Aren't they? Whoever invented this must have been on like. Whoever invented this must have been on Quaaludes. That's all I can decide. That's all I can imagine. Go live. Wait a minute. There we go. Okay. What? Excuse me, you guys. This is. I'm sorry. Come on. All right. I don't know if there's anyone. I don't know why it can't go live. It's saying it needs the screen recording permission to viewers to your screen in real. TikTok needs your screen recording permission for viewers to use your screen in real time. Jeez. I guess it's gone on sometime. Okay, here we are. What a day. Anyway, I hope you're all still here, and I apologize again. I'm always saying I'm sorry. I'm going to stop saying I'm sorry. Really, the guy who invented this was on Quaaludes. Yeah. Okay, good. So we're live. Okay, we're live on everybody right now. So, and I'll be cool. I'm going to try to be cool today and not say anything that's offensive. Isn't it weird that I have to not say anything offensive because I don't know how else to talk? Because the problem is, no matter what you say, you're going to offend someone, right? If you say something conservative, you offend people that are the other, and if you say something that's the other, you can offend them. So that's how I've always lived my life. I live my life such that I just live, and I just who I am. And plus, the other thing is I'm not a good actor. You know, I had an opportunity. My mother was in the movie industry, and I had an opportunity to be in the movies. I mean, I could have done that when I was young, but that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to act. And I grew up in Hollywood, so I always saw people acting. My conclusion is that everybody was an actor. Everybody. I mean, I didn't know the difference. Remember, I was like, I couldn't talk. And I remember, so I was looking, so how do I know that this guy here is an actor and this guy's not? I mean, I didn't even think about that. Just to me, the world was a stage. And when I grew up and I read Shakespeare, the world is a stage, I said, yeah, definitely. Um, and so I know that, and the world's a stage. So anyway, but I'm not a good actor. In other words, I can't pretend like I couldn't act. I couldn't play a role where I'm something that I'm not. And so just the same thing in social situations. I can't pretend. You know, I'm going to go give a talk now. They're saying, cut your hair. No, I wear a tie. Wear a tie. Squash your dreams in a necktie. No, I won't do it. Anyway, that's just that. Some of you can, and God bless you, you know, but I don't. So anyway, so how am I going to talk without offending people? It's impossible, but I'm going to try to, okay? Until I can get on Rumble, and I'm going to get it. Now, and if anybody knows anything about Rumble, let me know what I can do. I mean, can I make, what should I mean, it's not live, right? You can't have it live where where I can talk back and forth, where we can have a dialogue. See, what I really want to do is have a dialogue and be able to answer your questions right now in live time, which I can't, because remember, I really have to follow what I'm reading here. So anyway, someone was asked, where's that other person? Wow. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Where are we? Oh, can lupus be fixed without taking drugs? Lupus, okay. Well, lupus is, as you know, it's all the full name is called systemic lupus erythematosus, SLE, but they call it lupus for short, and it's just because there's this rash around someone's face many times when they first get it. So, yeah. So the question is, can someone cure that? Well, first of all, we're going to get back to the whole situation. That where is Dr. John? There. I want to say I found it. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Well, first of all, remember, none of us buy the story of autoimmune conditions, right? I won't use the D word, but none of us buy that. That's why we're here on this channel, because the reason you're all here is because you've probably been there. You've probably been beaten up, torn up, or you've watched a loved one destroyed, and you're here. There's no question why you want to be here. That's why, guys, please find me a doctor. I need to hire another doctor, 2 doctors actually. So, and I'll train them. I will personally train them. So, I mean, so if you know of anyone who's tired of working for the morgue, tell them to contact me at Thomas@drlodi.com. It's a good place. But actually, the best one is hello@drlodi.com, because that goes to everybody. Yeah. Okay, so hello@drlodi.com. But that would be great. Also, you guys, if anybody knows, if anybody was interested in moving to Thailand, I have a looking for a nutritionist um, who understands what I understand pretty much, or is willing to be trained, but he or she has to already be, uh, trained to some degree. All right, but that would be fantastic. Looking for a nutritionist who gets it, who understands it, who lives the lifestyle of eating uncooked plant foods would be great. And we'll get into that someday, again, and again. But anyway, let me talk about lupus. Okay, okay. So anyway, they call it autoimmune with a D, right? The D word. Autoimmune, meaning that the immune system somehow made a mistake and starts attacking the body. That doesn't happen. The immune system can't make a mistake. It doesn't make mistakes. All right. So we've talked about in the past about immunity being divided up really into two basic areas that they call it. One is the Th1 response and the Th2 response, and this refers to the CD4 cells, or the what they also call is T helper cells. Those are the ones that are supposedly destroyed during an quote HIV infection, unquote. Which would be a big deal. You get those and you've done it. The immune system's gone. Which is why we know where it came from. We all know where it came from. It didn't just appear out of Africa. No. None of these things are just appearing out of Africa. And the bizarre thing is that there, if you look into it really carefully, I don't care if you're a biologist or not a biologist, or a virologist, viruses don't fit any category of biology. They're just little editors. They run around editing DNA. That's what they do. So if you have melanoma or any other kind of chronically fermenting cell, there is something called Rigvir, which is a oncolytic virus, and they've run it through the melanoma line long enough, so now it's after that It's after that. That's what it's attracted to. Whatever it is, and what I think it is, it's just an exosome. An exosome is just simply a glycoprotein coat that comes off of the membrane, just kind of budding out, or inside, forms inside the membrane, or buds out through the membrane, and it's got a little RNA or DNA package in it, and that's what it is. And it's 50 nanometers, 70 nanometers, 100 nanometers. That's it. That's how big it is. And so the same as virus. And then no virologist, no one's ever seen it. With electron microscopes, you can see these things. But you can't take them and put them over onto somebody who doesn't have them. This is Koch's postulates. You can't take these little things that you find and put them into someone's nose, and they're going to get the same problem. It doesn't happen. It doesn't fulfill Koch's postulates. Anyway, so we've got, basically the immune system is working from an inflammatory and an anti-inflammatory balance. All things in nature are balanced by the yin and yang, day and night, up and down, front and back. All these things it's all binary. It's a binary universe. To whatever, in fact, these things define each other, right? Up has no relevance or meaning if there's no down. Your front has no relevance or meaning if you don't have a back. You got that, right? So, all right. So anyway, with immunity, we're talking about Th1 and Th2. So Th1 is the inflammatory response. Now, what is inflammation? Bad? No. Good? No. Yes. Bad? No. Yes. Got that? The answer is it good or bad? The answer is yes. Meaning that everything that exists in its appropriate context is going to be helpful or the opposite. So if you cut your finger, or if you slam your finger in the door closes and your finger gets caught in the door, you want inflammation. That inflammation is going to be red, hot, painful, and swollen. That's the 4 cardinal signs that define inflammation, and that is how it's healing. So what's happening, the reason it's getting red, hot, swollen, and painful is that all of the blood vessels and the capillaries are opening up, they're opening their pores, and they're letting in more, they're bringing in more white blood cells and red blood cells. They're just getting in there, and they're going to just go in there and take care of it. And like 5 days later, oh, it's gone. Oh, I can move again. Yeah, that's what you need. So that's Th1. Th1 is also sees anyway. So now Th2 turns it off. So okay, we're done now. We're done now. If you don't get done now, you're going to keep going, and there's nothing, and it's going to cause a problem. So you got to always have the on-off switch, just like estrogen and progesterone. You got to have the on-off switch, everything has to have the on-off switch, right? Yeah, because it's got to be modulated. And if you've ever tried to tune in a radio or tune in something, you got to go back and forth, right? It's not really easy to it's harder to do with with one, but actually one is this way, left and right, so you're modulating it. So anyway, you need to fine tune it, and that's what it's all about. That's what estrogen and progesterone are all about. And that's why when women and men are concerned about any kinds of chronically fermenting cells that can result from hormone, it's not the hormone, it's not a bad hormone, it's that they've gotten unbalanced and we have to restore balance, okay? Because none of them are bad, because they exist, because they're necessary, because that's how we stay alive. So it's not good or bad. Remember, the universe is not moral, it is not good or bad, it is absolutely necessary. Why is it necessary? Because it pleases God. That's why. I don't know of a better reason. Anyway, so Th2 could be called anti-inflammatory, Th1 could be called inflammatory. Now they do other things. And in fact, Th2 will do some of the Th1 stuff, and Th1 will do some of the it's way beyond comprehension. There's no way any human or any group of humans will ever get together and figure it out. We'll never be able to figure it out. It's way too complicated. Yeah, way too complicated. Oh, by the way, you guys, Facebook. Now they can read my mind. They can if I'm talking to someone about shoelaces, the next thing I see, there's shoelaces ads coming up. But they can't seem to fix this. The fact is, we still don't have access to our Facebook. Still don't have access. Can't get on. And they're working as hard as they can. And they send me out all these artificial intelligence letters. They don't even have in fact, none of the world does anymore. Have you noticed? Have you noticed that there's become a certain level of communication that is considered, what is it considered? Polite? Appropriate? I consider it offensive. I consider it inhumane. Well, that's what it is. But it's so nice, it makes me want to vomit. Oh, we sincerely appreciate your. You know what I have to say that you don't sincerely appreciate. Anyway, so just to let you know, we still don't have control of it, and but they can do, they know what they know what you're doing. It looks like one of your instruments is having connection issues. It does. I don't know. Are we still on, you guys? I guess. Anyway, they can't. All they'd have to do is really simple. They go into the account. They change the passwords completely, so whoever has taken it over no longer can get in. And then they tell us, and then we can go in and we can change it later to what we want. Right? That wouldn't be hard to do. They're investigating. What does that mean, investigating? Are they trying to see if it's still that way? Do they want to know? Hey, is it still? Can we still not get in? I mean, anyway, it's all nonsense. It reminds me. You guys all know this too. This blows my mind. This blows my mind. You're looking for something, and this thing comes up called CAPTCHA, right? And it says, we want to make sure you're not a robot. So find the crosswalks. Okay. Now, who generated the problem? I mean, who generated this test? A robot. There wasn't some guy that sat there and drew it out. These are photos and put together like this, and it comes up automatically, and they've got it. All this is AI driven. In other words, it's robot driven. So when they tell you, okay, and then you do it, and then another comes up, and then you do it, and you think, well, am I doing it wrong? And you keep doing it. What are they really doing? Because that doesn't prove that I'm not a robot. Robots could, a robot, an artificial intelligence can, they can generate and do things and do mathematical problems and stuff, way quicker than they beat us at chess. They beat us at Go. I think they finally beat us at Go. That game Go, that Asian game, amazing, incredible game. They can do all sorts of reasoning like that, and they can't figure out which one is the sidewalk. And they go, they can't read. I mean, they can't read. They read every language, right? You can get everything translated. What is that? Have you thought about that? I think about that stuff. Anyway, so getting back to your answer, and this is why I apologize again, Wayne. And the reason I don't get to everybody's questions is because I get to what comes up, and what comes up out of my mind, I'm going to assume is necessary for us all to hear. Okay, because I'm listening to me at the same time you are. I don't know what's going to come out. Anyway, and by the way, that's true of all of you. Unless you're giving a speech that you've rehearsed. If you're just talking spontaneously, then you're listening and hearing it too. Anyway, so what I wanted to tell you is this: it's very, very important. Is that what it used to be thought with autoimmune conditions is that organ specific autoimmune conditions such as Sjogren's syndrome or multiple sclerosis, where it eats up little holes in the myelin sheath around the nerves. So organ specific was a Th1 dominant. In other words, it was hyper-inflammatory. Whereas the systemic wide, the ones were like lupus, Oh, and Sjogren's. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sjogren's. So Sjogren's and lupus, which are more, they involve more than one organ. They're more systemic. Yeah. I mean, so what would another organ specific would be? Irritable bowel syndrome, right? Is organ specific, right? And so that's usually Th1 dominant. The other one is Th2 dominant. And so the situation is you don't want to be dominant on either. You want to restore the flexibility, because what's been found out is very easily. Now, and this is very important. Now, listen, this doesn't only apply to autoimmune. What this applies to completely. Let me get this over here. This is crazy. What this applies to, you guys, is what this applies to is immunity in general. So don't think of it as, so understand, whenever we're talking about whenever we're answering one question, I'm gonna make sure that it's applicable to all of us, okay? Because it's all applicable to all of us. All right. So the balance between Th1 and Th2 has to happen. Now, one of the major players in the immune system is called the macrophage. And the macrophage, in fact, they're biologists who think about these things, think that probably the most primitive and original immune cell in all of biology is the macrophage. And the macrophage just means large. Macrophage means eat. It's a large eating machine is what it is. It eats. It gobbles. Okay, so that's one way that immunity works. So the macrophage gobbles, but the macrophage actually has many more. When you have a multicellular organism like us, has many more, and even a unicellular single cell organism has many more functions than just eating or phagocytizing. Okay, and by the way, TikTok, phagocytizing is a nice word. Okay, it's spelled PHAGOTIZING. Okay, and it means any cell that eats. So neutrophil is a phagocyte. So is a macrophage. Phagocyte. They eat, they consume, they eat, rather than produce a substance to kill and destroy. They eat. Okay. Now, in addition to eating, the macrophage, it takes a piece of it, so to speak, and presents it to the naive, in other words, the highly trained, ready to go T cell that just came out of the University of Thymus and is ready to go, but doesn't quite have a target yet. So the macrophage comes and shows to them, along with its brother, the dendritic cell. The dendritic cells do that too. Dendritic cells just there's some mild weird differences between them, but they do the same thing. Basically, they're what they call antigen presenting cells. All right. So anyway, so what it finds out is that, there's also, the macrophages can be in an M1 and an M2. And if they're an M1, then they're, naltrexone. If they're M1, that means what they're busy doing is getting rid of, they're helping. So when that macrophage shows up to the whole tumor area and it gets into the micro, it's got in there to get in there and chew up and do all the stuff that it does. And it starts producing all of these cytokines, these interleukins that call in the other guys. And it's just, and activate this and activate that. It immediately, once it gets in there, it gets into that low oxygen, low acid environment of the tumor microenvironment, and it gets turned into an M2. And the M2 is going to help the tumor grow. So that's the problem with the tumor microenvironment. That's the problem. That's a big problem with the tumor. And I think that's the ultimate problem we run into when we get to a point with anybody where we can't go any further. It's because we can't change the, we've got to learn how to penetrate and get into that tumor microenvironment so that we can change. Otherwise, everything that shows up is going to get turned over. And so basically we lose the the opportunity of having an immune system, Now, I found this and I wanted to tell you about this. It's really important. So now, one of the things, right. So again, SLE dominated by Th2. Th2 is going to produce cytokines and interleukins, which are chemicals that will it's all anti-inflammatory, which prevents things that are there from being eliminated and balanced, and so they start to accumulate, right? Because it doesn't allow for the inflammatory side to clean things up, because you need a balance. All right, so that's what happens with that. So now there's a condition that's what's it called again? It's called well, it's a situation where the mast cells get highly excited. I mean, when the macrophages get highly excited and they go crazy, and they cause major problemms. Okay, and this happens in many different kinds of situations, where it can happen in sepsis, it can happen in sterile sepsis, what they call sterile sepsis. It can happen in anything. It happens in ICUs a lot. And what it is you wind up getting the overproduction of IL-6 and TNF alpha and all of these interleukins and cytokines, which are just chemicals produced by cells that stimulate, turn on the entire inflammatory cascade. So what happens with when you get this condition called MAS, and you have an autoimmune condition, or if you have chronically fermenting cells and you get MAS, the macrophages are on fire, and it eats you up. Because there's now the Th2 is really not able to come in there at all and turn off any of the fire. It's also what they call the cytokine storm. When they're talking about the cytokine storm, that's what we're talking about. They're talking about the inability to turn off the apparatus to kill and eliminate in the immune system. Now, for some reason, this happens a lot in kids with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis and things like that. But the more I learn, I got to say, I would really wish I could go back 150 years and study biology the way it was before. I don't know what's happened, what we've done. When I say we, I'm talking about those of us with two arms and two legs. I'm not sure if we're all human, but whatever. Whatever we've done to biology has really made it we just don't see these things in the jungle. We don't see these things in the forest. Now we are going to see it everywhere because it's happening everywhere. But I mean, prior to the intervention by the freaks that are running this show, nothing got out of hand. It was all balanced. You know what happens when the sun goes down? The moon comes up, or the moon doesn't come up, but it's dark for a while, and then the sun comes up, and then the moon, and then the dark, and the day, night. That's the way it goes. Oh, and it used to be that fires had to get that started because of a very unusual certain sort of circumstances had to happen, or actually lightning strikes or something like that. Otherwise, fires just didn't happen in the old days. And there weren't just tidal waves and hurricanes and tornadoes the way there are now, and weather. We all know about HAARP, and we all know how that works. Anyway, I would love to have studied biology back then. In fact, I'd like to live at least 300 years ago, 400 years ago, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. I really don't, in any way, appreciate what's going on. No way. No. That? No. What about this? No. What about? No. None of it. Life today is antagonistic to biology. Life today is antagonistic to nature. Life today Anyway. So that's what I'm saying. You know, and there's, you know what? It's really weird too. It's a lot of people. It's weird. Instagram keeps getting hacked. And then people take my picture and have me endorse products and things. And Facebook gets stolen. What's wrong? Come on, guys. Do something with your life. I'm not going to talk about 99.9999% of you. I'm talking about the people who are doing this. Don't have fun some other way. There's got to be another way of having fun besides making people frustrated, depriving others of things. I mean, anyway, so guess what you have to do to take care if you get really sick from a systemic lupus erythematosus? You've got to go on corticosteroids and immune suppressant. Now, when I was in New York City, there was a Dr. Zhang, and it's called the Zhang Clinic. It's on 46th Street. And Dr. Zhang is still there. He's a Chinese medicine doctor, traditional, obviously, came from China, traditional Chinese medicine. Also trained in internal medicine, but never got his license in the US. So he just did botanical and acupuncture. And they only took care of a few specific conditions. And one of them was autoimmune. So I had a woman come into my clinic way back around 2001, 2002 with day 1 or day 2 or 3 of full-blown first time lupus with the big rash, and I got her blood test, and it was everywhere. You know, when lupus can go to the heart, can go to the kidneys, can go all over the place, go to the brain, it can cause all kinds of problems. So you immediately put someone like that on corticosteroids and things like that. I called Dr. Zhang. We got down there, got her this stuff, and I'm telling you, within 48 hours, it was gone. So I don't know what it was, because he showed me the botanical stuff, and he showed me actually the biochemistry of the molecular structure of what's in those plants. But again, it's, you know, I don't know what it did in the body. But his phone number is 914-259-0346. 914-259-0346 at 210 East 46th Street in New York City. Dr. Zhang. Amazing. It doesn't do everything. Got to find out. There's like only 5 or 6 conditions he works with, but he takes care of them. But now, guess what else we got? Guess what the researchers have found? Well, it turns out you're going to love this one. Can I say this online? Hydroxychloroquine. No, hydroxychloroquine actually kind of decreases this stuff. Why? Because it decreases the production of IL-6, and it decreases the production of TNF alpha, and also what they call toll-like receptors. And then there are these other receptors that are on macrophages, dendritic cells, T cells, and things like that, that if they get bound, if the right thing binds to them, it turns off that process and calms it all down. And that's something that's called indole 3 carbinol. Oh my gosh. Where does that come from? Does not come from mistake. It does not come from a pork. I got removed again. We are committed to making sure that any personal information shared doesn't lead to harm. Anyway, it doesn't come from pork or anything like that. It comes from broccoli. Indole 3 carbinol is Okay, TikTok took me off again. I don't know what I said. Uh, so indole-3-carbinol actually comes from, we talked about it before. If you eat any cruciferous vegetable like broccoli or cauliflower or Brussels sprouts, bok choy, stuff like that, it's got these gluforophanins, which get turned into indole-3-carbinols. And when that indole-3-carbinol gets into your stomach acid, it turns it into indole-3-carbinol. Now, why would they take me off? What did I say? Unbelievable. So anyway, that's something good to know, is that the cruciferous vegetables can actually decrease the entire powerful inflammatory, the dangerous kind. It doesn't get rid of it completely so that it's you no longer have it. Now, one of the other things about the, and I want to get back to that tumor microenvironment because it's very, very important, is what has been found is that it's actually full of microorganisms. So I think it's 1 in every 47 or every 147 chronically fermenting cells is a microorganism. And maybe the doc information, I shouldn't have given his name. I don't know, you guys. I guess I gotta do something else with my life. I certainly can't do what I'm doing. Nothing. I get kicked off. It's a bummer. Anyway, that's what the indole-3-carbinol does. So anyway, what it turns out is that the patterns of microorganisms that are in the tumor microenvironment seem to be similar. So for ones that are in breasts versus ones that are in colons versus ones that are in pancreas versus ovaries, with skin, wherever they are, the tumor microenvironment in there seems to be have different ratios and kinds of bacteria, microorganisms, bacteria, archaea, and so that's why they have done, and especially with colon, chronically fermenting cells that are in colons, but even with breast, they've done fecal implants. They take the fecal matter from somewhere else and implant it, and it works. It helps them. So by because then these healthy bacteria can get over to the tumor microenvironment and kind of crowd out the other guys. And so it all comes down to, really, again, is restoring balance and getting what they call prebiotics. Prebiotics are the food that bacteria eat or that microorganisms eat. And then the microorganism, there is, we need a certain you need a certain number of bacteria. It's no sense trying to memorize all the names, but you need to get at least 40 species together, and you need a lot of them to get them in. It can take them a lot. And then you got to make sure you're eating the food that they will eat to stay alive, and otherwise they won't be able to colonize. All right. So anyway, that was I just thought that was quite relevant. So I think in terms of what we need to do, and it might be what they call the last frontier of working with chronically fermenting cells, and that is we've got to focus our time, Now, one of the reasons we get rid of parasites, and one of the reasons we want to take care of, and is the same reason, is one of the same reasons we want to take care of any dental cavitations or things like that. Why? Because they actually disturb the natural oral flora, nasal flora, and then if it's and then parasites can destroy the intestinal flora, whether it's small intestines, large intestines. All right, so because they're all the same size, they're microscopic, and so they're going to get in there and do the same thing. They're going to, some of the bad guys are that are bad guys. Some of the ones that are not in our best interest are going to have an opportunity to grow unless we put in the guys that we want. You understand? And remember, they can do this better than we can. So we got to just flood ourselves with that. But I think that's another way of realizing how important, we don't even realize how, when you see what they do, one of the ways in which parasites are actually able to cause problems in people is that they produce substances that disrupt our immune system. Yeah. So so we've got to get the good guys in there, and the only way you can get them in is not like you can find each tumor and then inject the bacteria into them. You've got to just start taking probiotics and eat right and take prebiotics, which is usually inulin and some other stuff, stuff like that. Okay, so let's see our next question. I asked you to talk about a new Zoom policies. Christy, I don't know of any new Zoom policies. Did I say that? Maybe I was talking about something else. But anyway, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, the Rumble channel. I know we're on, so I know we can get on. So if you guys want to stream on there, because eventually Instagram and TikTok and Facebook are not going to be anymore. Now, anyway, thank you so much, Christy. Thank you. Monica, my oncologist recommended to do a full stomach and lymph node reduction operation. PET scan and biopsy haven't shown cancer. But my oncologist says that these scans cannot show small cells. What do you think? I think your oncologist I don't even have a word for him, but him or her. Am I understanding this right? They haven't seen anything, but they're sure they're there, and so they want to take it out. Wait a minute. Reduction operation, man. They want to get rid of. They want to get rid of your lymph nodes around. Okay, no. The answer, I say no, and I'll talk to any oncologist about it. And I want that oncologist to please show me the data. The lymph nodes, remember everybody, lymph nodes are where the immune system makes its decisions. Okay, that's where the T cells get run into the dendritic cells and macrophages and get told what's going on, and they mount an immune response. Okay, without lymph nodes, there's no place for these guys to get together and to come up with an immune response. I can't. I can't really understand what they were trying to say. Uh, I knew about tapeworms, and I never heard of parasites inside the body. What is the difference? There's many kinds. Many kinds. You all know about parasites. There's worms and there's protozoa. Worms are different kinds. I mean, tapeworms are one kind, and then there's uh, roundworms, flatworms, um, pinworms, and some are microscopic. Most of them are microscopic, but they get larger and larger. They can get up. Tapeworms can get long. The other one can't. Don't. They're still very small. And there are little flatworms that are called flukes, and they live in the blood. They can go into the liver. And they go into and they cause cholangiocarcinoma, which is chronically fermenting cells up the bile ducts. And then there are, many kinds of worms. And then the protozoa are Giardia. You've heard of Giardia, amoebic dysentery. Trichomonas vaginalis. You heard of that? That's a parasite. There, Babesia, malaria. These are protozoal. These are one-celled organisms that get into our cells. They have to live inside of a cell, and they do. But the worms migrate. So you have a worm. You have some worms in your pancreas, in your spleen, and you take some herbal stuff, and all that does is shake them up, and they migrate to a place they're looking for, a safer place, and they go down into your pancreas and they settle there. You don't want that to happen, because that's not a place you want to get inflamed chronically and anything to happen there. So you don't want them to migrate. You want to get rid of parasites. You want to get rid of them, and you got to hit them hard, because remember, they lay up to 2,000 eggs a day, and most of the stuff we take kills the adults rather than the worms. So the worms are still running around. I mean, so the eggs rather than the eggs. So the eggs are still there. No, okay. There are, if you're an oncologist, I don't know what's going on with you, Monica. I don't know what kind of situation you had, but we don't want to take out any lymph nodes, especially if you can't find them. You don't go in, you don't get exploratory surgery for many reasons, right? Many reasons. You suppress the immune system. You completely intoxicate the body when you take when you get a full-blown anesthesia. So you definitely don't want that. So yeah, no, there's whatever has happened to you so far, consider it enough, and let's get you with a group, with a doctor that can help you heal from this chronically fermenting condition, rather than go to war against it anymore. There's no war. And also, surgery just doesn't work. I mean, it works under some circumstances. People always say, well, surgery, okay, it works under very rare circumstances. And I'm not saying this by myself. It's not just me. I know surgeons, I know people, I talk to people. I have 2 patients that are oncological surgeons. So this is not stuff I'm making up. And the surgical literature shows you as well. So anyway, surgery. If you have to get surgery, you get it. You have to. There are situations where you absolutely have to, yeah. But yours is not one of them at all. So what you need to do is we need to get in touch, Monica. Come on. Can you speak to why I have lost my smell and taste since November of 2020? It happened after I had a cold, and these two senses were never restored. I have not taken medical intervention that has been promoted for the last 2.5 years. Well, you know, the okay, smell. Smell is kind of like the original sense. I think it's the first sense. It's kind of like a lot of extremely primitive organisms only have a sense of smell. That's how they get around. That's how they discern what's in the environment. Um, and yeah, and it's a very important part of our brain too. It's kind of like yeah, if you know something, if you're good at doing something, then you say, yeah, he has a nose for these things. So anyway, but both smell and taste are easily modified by external situations. Being exposed to noxious stimuli, poisonous type stimuli can do that. Yeah, that happens. Getting a cold, people that get cold, catch a cold. I'm using the term catch a cold, but they have a cold, or they have what they call the flu and things like that. Their olfaction and gustation go down a little bit. Yeah, and it usually recovers after a little while. But it can happen from a head injury. It can happen. The other thing is it happens from dental problems. There can be hidden dental problems that you're not aware of, and you've got to go to a biological dentist. And if you're in LA, go to Emma Abramian. I might have slept. Anyway, she's amazing, and you'll see that. But if not, you got to find. If you're not in that area and you want to go somewhere else, find a biological dentist who belongs to an international association of biological dentists, like IOAMB or something like that. Medical, and I'm not sure what it stands for or what it is, but and make sure they don't put in, like someone told me the other day. My dentist says he puts in safe root canals. There are no safe root canals. It's taxidermy. You're putting dead teeth into the bone, which goes into the mouth. You've removed you remove the blood vessels, and you remove the nerves, and you fill it up with cement, and then you put a crown on it. Now, all the bacteria and other microorganisms have gone in, and they actually build up a little cave in the bone above or below where the root was. And it's called the cavitation. And in there, they produce things called biotoxins, right? And there's no immune system to police them, so they're out of control. And they run along meridians that connect to our organs. Okay, so there is no safe. And if they're telling you that, then they're not a biological dentist. Please understand that. One way you can tell if someone is a biological dentist, you look at their website and you look under services. And if under services, they say that they do root canals, then they're not. You don't do a root canal. And you don't put in metal amalgams. If they do that, then they're not. It's not. It's not. It's like saying there's these here, smoke these. These are safe cigarettes. Or I don't know. Can't even think of another analogy. That's a good one. Anyway, with taste and smell. Now remember, the other thing. So you got to check out dental. Dental is a big deal. Okay. I don't know if you were exposed to any kind of radiation or anything like that. It can do it. Of course, cigarette smoking can change it, but it usually comes back. Cocaine can change. Snorting a lot of cocaine can change it, and then it comes back. Usually, if the person stops in time. But as I said, head injury. And the other one is hormone. Hormones can do it. And it's interesting that menopause with the reductions in estrogen and progesterone, both can result in decreased smell, because estrogens are actually necessary to regenerate taste buds and regenerate the cells of the nose. So when estrogens are low, that regeneration is slower, and you wind up with a net decline. Yeah. And then there are other, there are other things. Some people get a decreased sense of smell and taste. Some people get an increased, where things are like too sensitive, and you can get that from androgens. You can get that from testosterone and androstenedione and things like that. And women with PCOS can experience that kind of thing. And both hypo and hyperthyroidism can affect smell and taste. So you've got to do those. And the way I recommend to check thyroid is get a thermometer and check your axillary morning before you get out of bed temperature. And write it down in the morning, and write it down for 5 times. And if you're less than 97.8 Fahrenheit or 36.8 centigrade, then you are hypothyroid. And then you're probably going to want to get a natural thyroid, such as Armour, such as Thyrovant, such as Westroid. There's many of them. But you want to get one, but you also want to start taking iodine, because there's not enough iodine in our food systems, and we don't have enough iodine. So, yeah. But it's very so elevated androgens, again, they can lead to the same as a decrease in estrogens and progesterone. They can lead to problems with smell and taste. So you need to get all of those checked out. There's a lot of things to check out. Okay, and the average ENT doctor is not going to know that. I see you don't have a consultation till October. My brother is 50 years old and is following his conventional doctor's treatment plan for his right tonsillar neoplasm. That means chronically fermenting cell. The recommendation is cisplatin once a week for 6 weeks and radiation 5 days a week until October 2nd. He is open to eating clean and possibly receiving vitamin C. What do you think if he goes this route? He lives in Washington, D.C. area. What do you recommend? Anyone there? His oncologist says its success will depend on the mindset and diet, but says there is no research on vitamin C helping. Is that true? Oh my God, I wish this was a Zoom so I could show you. You go to, I got to do this. Let me just take a look. I can't, but they're still saying things like that. Let me see this here. Okay, here's one. We're going to go to PubMed. And we're going to put in intravenous vitamin C and cancer. And we have several thousand articles. Several thousand articles. Now tell this person that told you this that, as a matter of fact, not only the NCI, the National Cancer Institute, the FDA, and the NIH got together with with the leadership of Mark Levine at the NIH, and they did some studies on vitamin C and how it works. What is the mechanism of action? How does it actually work against cancer? And he found out, and they published, I think, a series of 4 papers. This was in the early 2000s. After that, a doctor named Julie Driscoll at Nebraska, one of those, either Nebraska or Oklahoma. Anyway, it was a university-based trial with ovarian cancer and vitamin C. Okay, that was one trial, and then there's been many trials since that time. So they've had clinical trials, live clinical trials. There's published research. It's been going on for decades. So please tell your doctor that that's just simply not true, that vitamin C would work. And your oncologist just doesn't know about it. And he should at least have the respect for the field that we're in to not say that something's not research if it is research. It's like I wouldn't say, well, they've never done any research on chemo. They've done a lot. I'm not going to say they didn't, but read it and you'll see what I mean. So, do I think he can be helped? I definitely do. I know that cisplatin, look, I'll find you an article right now. Cisplatin will make cancer metastasize. It will make it spread. You look up, go look up a, look at, there's an article called The Paradoxical Effects of Chemotherapy on Tumor toll-like 4 signaling. The paradoxical effects of chemotherapy and and then here's the one with Taxotere and not Taxotere. You said, was it Taxol? They want to put them on. Yeah, cisplatin. Okay, they want to put them on cisplatin. Okay, so what I was going to say is that go get paradoxical effects of it, and then here it is. Well, here's one article here. You can. I can't go to it because it'll knock me out here. But it's one article here. It has the paclitaxel and prostate cancer, but they just tested prostate cancer. But prostate and breast cancer are very similar. But look at that. Look at the paradox of it, and you'll see that cisplatin actually does increase metastasis. They all do. Most of them do. They all do, and so does radiotherapy. So yeah, I don't think he needs to do that. I think what he needs to do is see someone that is who's read a little more, who knows a little more, who's ready to give him a better opinion. He needs a true second opinion. I'd be really happy to talk to your oncologist, and I'd be really happy to talk to you with them. You can find me on drlodi.com. I'm happy to talk to them, discuss the research with them and all that stuff. And but we need to find somebody. He's not going to change his mind. He's not going to. Doesn't matter if you show them everything, they're still not going to change their mind. Okay, so I lost my health after taking some Botox Dysport injections. The last Dysport injection back in 2017 nearly killed me. I haven't been able to regain my health in spite of seeing 40 plus doctors. I've been diagnosed with chronic Lyme's and treated clinically for Bortonella and Babesia. I also have parasites. Well, Carol, I need to see. I can't just go from that. But yeah, for sure. You have Babesia. Babesia is a parasite. It's like a malaria. It lives in red blood cells, and called babesiosis. It usually accompanies Lyme's because it's carried by a tick, just like Lyme's is. Lyme's is carried by a tick, um, and um, and the same with Bortonella. So where is it? Where is your stuff? Where is it? Uh, yeah. So it's Bortonella. And so then you think you've also got worms. I'm sure you do. So you really need a really powerful uh, parasite cleanse right now. It's very, very important. I mean, essential. Essential. That's got to be number one. We'll do that first. Then once they're cleaned out, then we got to take a look at your dental situation. We've got to find a biological dentist. But let's get those parasites out first, especially if you know they're there. Um, it's very important. Now there are different kinds of, unfortunately, I don't like drugs. I hate drugs. I don't give drugs out. That's not my goal. Is to give out drugs. My goal is to teach people to that's how to restore our health. But there are certain situations where we have to use drugs. One of them is parasites, because if we don't, we're going to undertreat them, and they're going to migrate, and they're going to stay in our bodies. And it's not, we just can't, instead of going through this year after year after year after year, let's get it over with. Okay, so that's why we've got to use these drugs, these heavy drugs, and and I've gone through it before. These drugs are praziquantel, niclosamide, uh, ivermectin, fenbendazole, mebendazole, um, uh, and then there are ones that are those are all for worms, and then there's ones we want to get for the protozoa, like nitazoxanide, and also called Linea, and another one is called actually there's several, and strangely enough, some of the things that we think of as antibiotics, like um, doxycycline, tetracycline, actually are used with a lot of single-celled protozoal parasites. And the reason they are is because and especially now, remember, there's the tetracycline family has tetracycline, doxycycline, and minocycline. Those are the three main. There are a lot because it comes from this organism in the soil, but I think it was called chlor tetracycline. I don't know what it was called, but anyway, the thing about them is that they get into the cell, and they get intracellular organisms. So they're good in things like malaria, mycoplasma, and then spirochetes is good for spirochetes. Like Lyme's is a spirochete. Spirochete just means it's a bacteria that has a screw-like shape, and it gets into things. So syphilis is a spirochete. Lyme's is a spirochete. But they go inside cells. So anyway, so something like minocycline, tetracycline, doxycycline, and then there's another drug that's really, really good in these situations for the protozoals, and that is Bactrim, trimethoprim sulfamethoxazole. But normally I don't prescribe drugs, just that this is the situation where you do it. Now here's our dilemma, and this is a big dilemma, everybody, really, and it's something that we have to just say, okay, we got to figure out, well, we're just going to do it, and then we're going to kill off the good guys in our belly. We're going to kill off the good guys, and that's going to make things worse. So how do we do this? How do we get rid of the parasites and not get rid of the healthy bacteria? Well, it's impossible. So the only thing we can do is to take many, just as many as we can in probiotics, prebiotics, and take them rectally. You can put them in rectally when you go to sleep. Vaginal for your woman. There's even oral probiotics you can put in your mouth at night when you go to sleep. We've got to restore the. We've got to maintain that while we're trying to kill off these guys, because if we don't get, yeah. Now, once they're in us and they've pretty much hijacked our physiology. I don't think there's another way. Fasting would probably do it. Although, a lot of them, like these blood flukes and stuff, are living in blood vessels, and like malaria is in our red blood cells. Babesia is in our red blood cells. They're eating the hemoglobin. So, even if we're not eating, if we're fasting, our body's still got to be making its own cells. So, but I think it might reset our physiology enough so that we can eliminate that. If somebody said, look, I don't really want to take any drugs. Okay, if you got a lot of parasites, or we find out that parasites are a thing, it's going to take years or really like a couple of really long, prolonged, supervised 30, 40, 50-day fasts, and then eating a certain way in between. It's going to take a really, really powerful effort. I think I would recommend killing the parasites first, doing the dental, make sure there's no other hidden dental infections that are fueling this thing, that are keeping it all going, and then do fasting and cleansing and clean things up. But I just get rid of because it's almost like if you don't, suppose I had a cavitation here in my jaw, and it had all kinds of organisms in it, and it was fueling all this. No matter what I did, fasting and cleansing, it's still fueling it. I don't know how long it would take. I don't know if I would die first or it would die from fasting. I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. That's why I think if we can get rid of those fundamental causes, detoxify, cleanse, and then, detoxify means get rid of the guys that we can get rid of. If you see them, get rid of them. Or if you know they're there in any way. Now, one thing you might do, though, is you might go to see Dr. No, I can't be in trouble for that, because I've sent people before. Go to see Dr. Yu, Simon Yu in St. Louis. He'll do an acupuncture meridian test, and he'll find out exactly what's going on with you and exactly what the remedy is. Is it parasites? Is it dental? Is it environmental toxins? So those are things that are in there. And which order should we go at it? Should we do this one first, second, third? Usually you do the office. You go for dental evaluation by a biological dental, or you see Dr. Yu and he'll tell you whether it's dental or not, yes or no. Simple. Or you can come to us too. You know that. Not like him. Nobody's like him. He's the man. Go see Dr. Yu. So while you're doing that, you start a parasite cleanse. Because unfortunately, you can't diagnose them. You're not going to find them in your stool. And I saw some comments there. Someone said, why? I remember the thing. Someone said to me, someone said there was a comment on here. It was really an interesting comment. It said, well, you know what? If there's no, why didn't God give us a way to keep our colons clean without colonics? Why wasn't there a mechanism for that? And he did. God did. If we'd eat right, if we ate human food, we wouldn't have no need for colonics. If we grew up eating human food, we grow up eating non-human food, and we live in a situation that is not natural, so that we don't, like, you're in a board meeting, or you're at work, and you got to go to the bathroom, and you just can't go right now because of whatever, or you're on a date, or whatever it is, you can't go out, you can't go to the bathroom, you hold it in, and then you kind of offset that urge, and now that does, so you do that, and we don't drink enough water, we're not hydrated, uh, we just don't eat right. We don't eat the food that humans need to keep their. Remember, we have 30 feet of intestines, or 10 meters. That's a lot of intestines. It's a lot of revolutions going around, and it's got to be cleaned out. And the only thing that really cleans it out well is plant food. I have no idea what TikTok got upset about. No idea. Xenia, I see it says ALK plus stage 4 or 5 years. I don't really know what that means. ALK, what does that mean? During my two. Why I am not. Why I am not going regular despite eating healthy. Yeah, we talked last time, right? Remember, it was despite eating healthy, you had cholestasis during your 2 pregnancies in 2009, 2013. You developed cholestasis. If you're eating healthy, I'm not sure. Not everybody has the same definition of what that means. But if you're eating healthy, that means you're eating plant food. It's not cooked. Let's say 90% of it is not cooked. Okay, and that which is cooked is not grilled, baked, broiled, or grilled, fried. So you can steam it or boil it. But most of it is not that way. That would be eating healthy, and you're getting a lot of fat stuff up. You're drinking a ton of water. You shouldn't be getting that. And I think you got the cholestasis. Cholestasis is just because you got your equilibrium got out of balance. That's all. Just your equilibrium got out of balance. Your water equilibrium. Water in one department, not in another. I have been getting mammograms since I was 29. I will be 60 in 3 months. I have dense breasts. My father's sister had breast cancer. My GYN retired now. GYN wants a mammogram and an ultrasound. I asked to just do ultrasound, and she said no. Where to go about finding a doctor who will listen? Don't get you go find out. You just don't do. You don't need a mammogram. Someone had it. It doesn't mean it's not. Are you eating right? Are you living right? Are you making sure that you're not growing and making chronically fermenting cells? Are you living that way? How are you? Are you just gonna? Then what? What if they say, yeah, that is there? They can cut it off and do chemo. I don't. There's not enough context to this question. I really want to answer you because I know you want an answer. But if you've been doing mammograms since you're 29, you're 60, that is a big mistake. And I know there's someone out there who said to me, I'm an ultrasonographer, and I'll tell you, mammograms are still good. Yeah, well, then you get your mammograms for yourself, okay? Give yourself a mammogram. Mammogram is irradiating breast tissue. And if you don't know if it's not good, then there's nothing I can say. But don't know it. Continue not to know it. All right? So I would say get an ultrasound and get a thermogram. There are doctors that will do that in their office for you, in their office for you. You don't have to go into the House of Horrors, okay? You can go in your office for you. They'll do it in your office for you. You got to find. You can find. I don't know where you are, Karen, but there are doctors that do that. I know that do that. And we have an ultrasound, and we do things like that, and we have a. And then there are a lot of doctors who have really good thermograms. There's a really amazing thermogram that does a whole body thermogram now. Really, really amazing. Anyway, so yeah, you don't want to. So don't worry about that. I mean, just and live right. I hope you're living right. Hope you're eating right, going to bed early. I'm recently diagnosed with poorly differentiated carcinoma, triple negative. I'm taking low-dose naltrexone, modified citrospectin, mistletoe, zinc, and antioxidants. Also twice weekly high-dose vitamin C with artesunate infusion. My holistic doctor has advised the ketogenic diet and working with a metabolic approach advocate Dr. Nasha Winter program. My detoxification protocols include daily coffee enemas once a month, alternating liver flush, clean, sweet, and citrus detox. Do you have any input on my treatment plan? Well, I just don't know what you mean, Vanessa. How much what antioxidants you're taking and how much. So what I would do is make sure that you're taking adequate amounts of everything. You're getting your colon cleaned twice a week with a colon hydrotherapist. You're having lymphatic therapy by a certified lymphatic therapist using electrolymphatic therapy, ELT, as well as manual. Make sure that you're getting movement all day long. Every 90 minutes, you get up and do something for 15 minutes where you get out of breath, you work really hard, and keep your blood flowing. Get some resistance, keep your strength up. Whether it's push-ups and stuff like that. Go to bed early. If you're getting your vitamin C, good. You should be taking vitamin C every day, 8 to 10 grams, like I do I've said before, 8 to 10 grams in a liter of water. Shake it up. Just take a sip from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So you're getting a little bit of it all day long. And then throughout the day, you can also take here and there, take a liposomal vitamin C, because that goes in through through the lymphatics. So you'll have a good adequate amounts for physiological requirements for vitamin C, because when vitamin C is acting physiologically, it does all sorts of things like turns off HIF-1 alpha and does some epigenetic changes to cells that are chronically fermenting. So just at physiological doses, we're not even talking about getting up to therapeutic from the IV. And also when you finally sit down to get the IV, it will go up to therapeutic more easily because there's no hole to fill up yet. Do I have a list of biological dentists? No, you know what? I'm going to put that up. I'm going to put it up. I'll put that up. I promise. Because I got a list from somebody who I trust, from Dr. Emma. I'm just looking at all these questions that are coming up. Can children under 6 and under be treated safely and effectively for parasites? Yeah, but for them, you can be much less. And I'm sorry to say, but I've not worked with children because the law doesn't allow it. So I don't have a lot of experience working with children. We tried to work with children early on, and if someone came to us, the authorities took the child away from the parents, so we can't work with them, and they forced the child to go there. But you're talking about something else for parasites, but I don't know. I'm sure that a child could easily be given herbs. It doesn't need to be taking any drugs. Maybe small doses of ivermectin would be good in small doses. And I don't know what small would be. I don't know how much they weigh or anything like that. But I don't think. But I think herbs would probably do it. Maybe a little bit of ivermectin, maybe a little bit of bendazole, little bits. I don't know what a little bit would be. I just don't know the answer to that specifically. But regarding the herbs, they could take the clove, they could take the garlic, they could take the uh, oil of oregano. There are herbs that get rid of parasites as well. Um, Approach Advocate, Dr. Nasha Winter program. I don't really know her program. Okay, so here, have sore spot on front right rib because of lobular in 2004, again in 2019. Had double mastectomy in 2019, no other treatment, stage 1. In 2004, you had chemo and radiation. Have been healing with plant diet and addressing nutritional deficiencies under naturopathic care. Without breast, there's no screening, so every pain is nerve-wracking. Especially, should I ask for an MRI thermography? Thank you so much. All right, Roseanne. The most important thing you said there is nerve-wracking. It means you're afraid. And if you're afraid, then your immune system is being suppressed. You've got to learn to meditate, to turn off your mind. Turning off the mind is very, it's not something you can just do. You have to work at it. So five times a day for just 2 minutes. Back up straight, sitting back. So if you want to say a prayer first, and then listen with all of your being, very quietly and intimately, to your breathing in and out. You won't be able to stay focused. Your mind will fly away, but bring it back. It'll fly away, but bring it back. Just 2 minutes. Do this 5 times a day. Get good at it until whenever your mind goes to that place, you immediately turn it off. And you will keep it's documented. We know that would directly suppress your immune system. We know that by not doing it, it'll directly increase your immune system. And the whole battle with dealing with any chronically fermenting cell is the immune system. We'll keep it gone or not. That's it. Now, you had the chemo and radiation at first in 2004, so then it came back, I guess. It never went away. Remember these things it's not like they go away when they do chemo and radiation. All they've done is gotten rid of the mature ones, but all of the cancer stem cells, as they're called, and are still there, and they need time to grow. If we don't feed them, like if you put seeds in the ground, but you don't put any water at all, and you don't let it rain, you hide it from the rain, they're not going to grow. So you can't water them. So we have got to take a look at your life. So you got a little spot on your rib. I understand that. There's a lot of things you can be doing. Eating right. All these things, if you're doing them, iodine, melatonin, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C, these are essential. Going to sleep early, movement, Meditation, not thinking. Do you have parasites? Have you gone on a parasite cleanse? Have you gone to a biological dentist, a real biological dentist, to evaluate whether or not you have any potentially hidden dental problems that are fueling this? Because that's what you got to do. And if you do all that, you get rid of all that. And then the other thing is environmental toxins. Are you being exposed to anything? You can take Cellcore puts out a binder, something called a Cellcore binder. You just take one pill twice a day or a couple times a day, 2 pills a couple times a day. It just binds up. And the good thing about the Cellcore is that it doesn't take out the good healthy guys. It doesn't take away your healthy minerals. But yeah, so much you can do. Good question here by Lynn. She's saying, what are some signs that things are working? For example, if someone is eating raw whole foods, going to bed early, taking recommended supplements, getting ozone, vitamin C infusion, grounding, rebounding, exercising, meditating, etc., what are some indications that the chronically fermenting cells are turning off? Well, okay, really depends on your situation. If you have a tumor that you can see or feel, that's easy to know. If you don't, and you have no symptoms from it, then you can't tell by subjectively evaluating it. Then you would need an objective evaluation. And an objective evaluation, there are different kinds of blood tests that are helpful that just point to the fact that things are going in their chronically fermenting cells are at work, like LDH. You don't want that to be high. You get your ferritin and iron and make sure that the ferritin to iron ratio is below 5:1. You look at your neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio, right? You don't want that to be really high. You don't want that to be above 3 to 5. You can also, there's a place called the American Biological Labs, and they have a whole test with looking at urinary HCG, looking at a whole list of things, including one called PHI, which is phosphohexoisomerase, which is an enzyme that is in the fermentative pathway that allows hexose to go to fructose. And so if that's up, it correlates very high with cancer activity. Now, as long as it's under 100, it can be dealt with. When it gets above that, it becomes very, very difficult. And the way you're talking, this is like no way. But if it's up a little bit, if you should get the PHI test. You don't have to get the whole battery out. It doesn't matter. I don't think so. But get the pH, because then just get the PHI test and watch that. That's a good way to monitor. Okay, phosphohexoisomerase. It's the American Biological Labs. Yeah. Other than that, I'd say if you're meditating, do it more. I think none of us meditate enough. All right, so Elizabeth, I was just introduced to your work last week. Thank you for your welcome. My pleasure. Thanks to your email crew, I just received episode 47 and went directly on hydrogen peroxide. Quite unfortunately, a little recklessly, I have been ingesting hydrogen peroxide while also supplementing my largely vegetarian diet with liver plus iron. Yeah. Okay. I understand. And listen, yeah, okay. That could have been damaged through the Fenton reaction. I've been experimenting with ways to eliminate possible synthetic parasites, nanotechnology, etc. I gotcha. Um, all right. All right. So what I know about synthetic biology and nanoparasites and stuff like that, things that don't exist. I mean that they're being given to us is they stop moving. They feed off EMF. So when you got no EMF around, they can't move. If you're in a Faraday cage, they can't move. They can't live. They don't live. We're talking about the synthetic biology. We're talking about the graphene oxide and the hydrogel and things like that. As far as your Fenton reaction, all that, whatever's happened has happened. However, so remember, what will quench the Fenton reaction would be more electrons, so more vitamin C. So be sure you're taking enough vitamin C. Be sure you're taking enough vitamin A, D, and C. All right. So A, you're going to take 40,000 units a day. Vitamin D, you're going to take 30,000 units a day. You'll check your levels in about a month or two, and you want them both to be up around 100. That's about a good number. And then you look and you do your vitamin C. You take 8 grams, put it in a liter of water, pure sodium ascorbate water. Put it in a liter of water, shake it up, and sip it slowly from 7 to 7. So because each slip will be small enough for you to be able to absorb. All right, so that's all. So you're doing, you're doing great. So whatever happened, and it's going to clean. It won't keep happening. It happened. When it happened, it happened. Okay, and your body's amazing. It probably repaired everything that you did because you're doing everything else so good. So I wouldn't worry about that. I just wouldn't do it again, and get all these antioxidants, which are electron donors, to prevent. It's not going to happen again because you're not drinking peroxide. But that's the only thing I wouldn't do with peroxide. Otherwise, you can get 0.03% as an IV. If you can get, it's really good. Take a bath in it. It's good for your skin. Yeah. Cleans your vegetables really nicely. So let's go here. Come on, you guys over here. Got some other Instagram questions. After two cancers, breast and lung, what is my first step to heal my immune system? Well, first of all, when you say 2 cancers, you mean you had a breast cancer that started in your breast and a lung cancer that started in your lung, or it's a breast went to your lung? Usually, it's much more rare for people to have 2 primaries, like a colon and a pancreatic cancer, or a breast and a lung cancer. That's really uncommon. What's more common is that one of them went there and you have one that's metastatic. Okay, so if that, what is the first thing you do to heal your immune system? Is, well, you've stopped doing all drugs and chemos, and you clean your colon. You do a juice fast. You make yourself celery, cucumber, kale, spinach, ginger, and apple. Okay, as a foundation, you can play with it if you want. If you don't like apple and you want to put in a couple carrots, that's fine. You just want to give it enough flavor so that you enjoy it. You got to love it, but you don't want to make it too sweet. Drink 3, 4, 5 liters a day, and do this for as long as you can. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. Okay, as long as you can, you feel better and better and more energy. That will be it. Go get some colon hydrotherapy. Remember, 60% of your lymphatic tissue is in your GI tract. So by cleaning out your GI tract, you allow your lymphatic tissue to have a break. Very important. And make sure your dental situation is okay. Go to a biological dentist. Do parasite cleanse. If you haven't done parasite cleanse, do parasite cleanse, because if we have parasites anywhere or hidden dental issues anywhere, they are overtaxing, overwhelming our immune systems. That's what they do, and that's what happens. That's one of the ways that they can subvert our immune system and all kinds of stuff. And then, if you're over 40, you might look into getting or even not, younger than 40 is fine. Go to Peptide Sciences and get thymosin alpha 1, which is an injectable way to stimulate your because your thymus gland shrinks and shrinks and shrinks with every decade of age, and the thymus gland underneath your chest bone is where your T cells are made, and we need T cells for immunity. That's what immunity is. We're talking about immunity, so it's very important. So I would get thymosin alpha 1. The other thing you could do is you can eat mushrooms. There are many amazing ones: turkey tail, maitake, shiitake, Agaricus blazei. Some really amazing mushrooms. Find yourself a good supplier, organic, and use them. They're very good. How can I come to your place and learn? Well, what I'm going to do is, as soon as I, get around to it, is put some courses up online and have different, for people who want to become health coaches, and train you and certify you to become health coaches. And most of it will be online, but there'll be a period where you come just so you get the knowledge, and then a period where you come and spend time at the clinic. And we'll have one of 3 or 4 clinics that you can come to, spend time, and get some actual real learning. Okay, so that's a good question. And do that for different people. Some people want to be a health coach for themselves. Some people want to be a health coach for others. And some people want to be a health coach that helps health coaches, organizes them. Can I do high-dose vitamin C with a blood thinner? Yes. A blood thinner, you mean something like Lovenox or heparin or something like that. Lovenox is just low molecular weight heparin. Yeah, sure, no problem. What is your opinion on restricting methionine to starve chronically fermenting cells? Well, that's a good question. Methionine, yeah. Okay, so they use more of it than we do, and yet we need it. Without them, we can't perform vital functions. It's kind of like glutamine. I don't think restricting anything is going to help, because methionine is what you call an essential amino acid. In other words, if you don't eat it, you won't make it. Whereas glutamine is non-essential, meaning as long as you're getting your essential amino acids, you're able to make glutamine. Now, glutamine is not only a fuel for cancer, it serves as the nitrogen and carbon backbones for the cancer cells, or the chronically fermenting cells, to make amino acids, to make nucleotides, DNA and stuff like that. In other words, really, really important. And the carbon to make fatty acids and stuff like that. And yeah, they also make more cholesterol than us. So that's why some of the repurposed drugs, they put people on cholesterol medication. But, there's too many side effects from that. I don't agree with that at all. And methionine, you can do it, but that means no nuts. And without nuts, how are you going to get your oils? And if you don't get your oils, you can't get the cellular voltage up to where it needs to be to heal. And you've got to have a cellular voltage of at least 70 intracellular to heal. And that only happens when you have really strong lipids, fats in your cell membrane, and that comes from eating nuts and seeds. So and if you got rid of the methionine, that's not, experimentally that works. But just like you can't get rid, you can go on a ketogenic diet and your body will switch from glucose to eating glutamine. So if you go on a water diet, which is a fast, now you won't have any glutamine or glucose. And that actually, for 41 days works. However, remember something. Your body will still be making glutamine and still be making glucose to the rates that it needs for certain things, because it's absolutely essential. That goes into the Krebs cycle that makes different biological parts that we need. And eventually, that's why you die if you don't eat. Eventually. So I don't think restricting any particular thing helps. What I think is better is getting rid of any sources of chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is what underlies all degenerative conditions that are called, not we, but that they call diseases. Okay, that's what it is. So how do you get rid of chronic inflammation? You eat food that's not inflammatory. Food that's not inflammatory is food that's not cooked. Food that's cooked is inflamed, causes inflammation, because it's seen by the body as a foreign body. Number one. Number two, you avoid stresses, you meditate, you go to sleep early, you exercise, all the things we talk about. Avoid toxins and poisons. All right, anyway, you guys, we lost TikTok, maybe for good this time. They probably kicked us off. They don't like us now. And I don't know what I said. Anybody know what I said? I can't see any of that. Anybody know what I said? Hi there. I don't know what I said. It would kick us off. Anyway. So anyway, I gotta go. It's 9:00 here, after 9 here. Castor oil, yeah, it's always good. Oh, when I put the phone number out, is that what it is? Really? Wow. Really? Sorry. I don't know. Okay, you guys. Sawadee Kap. Aloha. Namaste. Namaskar. Have a wonderful week, you guys. And good night to you all. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.